What's up YouTube? My name is Uncle Smokey, and this is Uncle Smokey Stock Trades. And before I start this video, I would like to say, I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. So please take what I say with a grain of salt, and do your own DD. What's going on, guys? So we've got a lot to talk about. I'm just going to go ahead and just start getting into it. First and foremost, apparently the Russell 3000 thing is still confusing a lot of people. So I'm going to go through that really quick right now before we even crack into the video. So we were listed onto the Russell 3000's deletion list. As of right now, that's not a very big deal, okay? Can it become a big deal? Sure. I'm sure in the future, if this doesn't change, it can become a big deal. But we have to keep in mind that we are listed under the wrong sector. They have us listed as basic materials, not as semiconductors where we're supposed to be listed to as. So the other thing you need to keep in mind is, as of right now, there are still a few weeks left before this is a finalized list. The very first part of this is May 6th. They do the actual lineup. This is where they set everything into motion. And then on the 3rd, they had released the list after hours. This is the preliminary list. This is just the beginning. So this is nothing, like I said, to be too terribly concerned with. This could change either this Friday or next Friday, or even on the following Friday, on the 24th. This could change as well before the final list gets published at end of day on Friday. So this is after regular trading hours. The final list for the Russell 3000 reconstitution will be produced. Now that's not just deletions, but also additions, because as companies get pulled off, more companies get put on. So just keep this in mind. The Russell 3000 deletions list is not a big deal for us as of right now. However, here's what's very interesting about this list and about what has happened. The hedgies have actually figured out how to utilize this against us, and it's not a surprise. This is one of the scare tactics they use when they're trying to short a stock and they're trying to keep it below a certain level. They take even the smallest amount of news or the most incorrect news and try to use it against the retail investor. So let me go ahead and give you an example. Pitamit Lithium Origin Materials added to Russell Microcap Index. Metamaterials, US Silica, deleted. This is on Seeking Alpha. How is this now important? How is all of a sudden we're a notable deletion? All of a sudden we matter, we make a difference, right? That right there is one indicator showing you that the news outlets are also on the side of the hedgies, that this is a scare tactic, this is a scare article. You know, for months we've heard we're nothing. We're just this little metals company in Canada. We're not being shorted. There's no manipulation here. Forget about it. You know, this is a garbage company according to Carousel Capital. This is according to Rosen Law Firm. You know, we're set for lawsuits. All that stuff. We're nothing. All of a sudden, we're notable deletion off the Russell 3000. We're getting press attention. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Yeah, I think so too. And with this news, you got the sell-off that we saw on Monday. This is Monday's price action right here. Now, this is not a sell-off, so don't get confused. I know I said the word sell-off. It's not. It's a fake-out. It is a breakdown. This was done purposefully. This movement right here, first thing in the morning, is not a natural sell-off as far as it goes with anything. This, what we saw isn't even really bad news, to be all honest. If you get pulled off the Russell 3000, you know, you come down a little bit, maybe 10, 15 cents overall after that news has happened. And then you go back to normal trading, just trading along the NASDAQ in whatever place you get placed after that, whatever picks you up. Anywho, so it drug down here and then it consolidated. Now, what's amazing about the price action that we saw after this level right here is it basically traded on a freaking rope. This is barcode action to a T. And we also were able to get Ben Hem, which I've talked about many times on this channel now. He was able to capture one of the level 2s where it shows that the market makers are literally holding this thing down. And you're going to see it right up here. They're literally holding this thing down at the 170 to 172 mark. This just making it, forcing it, trade on a rope. They did this on purpose through this entire time right here. This was all them, right? And then you come out with this here first thing in the morning. Now, I also want you guys to keep in mind there has been a buy wall, a 400,000 plus share buy wall set at $1.50 since right here. I have a picture of yesterday's and today's. I don't have a picture of the 7th, but that was 3 days in a row. You've had a buy wall set at $1.50 for 400,000 plus shares. What is that? Well, that's kind of a safe zone. That is a level that they set it at for once this thing does drop, because, you know, there's code. There's code that the market makers and the hedge funds use to drop this at specific times. They set these buy levels, these buy zones for them, so that way if it comes down to that level, it catches it and stops it with a major buy-in of a major amount of shares to help pick the price action back up, so that way they don't get in trouble. It doesn't do a margin call, because what happens is it sets like their liquidity way down. Now, if that would have hit $1.50 today, you know, right here, I would be willing to bet you would have seen some massive green freaking candles, just because, again, that buy wall has been there for 3 days, but it did not. What is interesting is it stopped at 153. 153 is exactly 10% from the previous day's close. I had came out right here on Twitter and said, wow, we're at 154, right when it had started consolidating right there. And no joke, right after I said, I bet it doesn't go another penny down, I swear they're listening. Watch this. Bloop, and right back up. It dropped that 1 penny. 1 freaking penny. It came down right there and shot right back up almost immediately. I'm telling you, they listen to the YouTubers. They watch us on social media. They see what we're saying. They see what's going on. And they're doing it just to prove us wrong. Because a lot of people are influenced by us. That's why they call us influencers. And might set their buy and sell zones off of those levels, right? They could consider them stop loss hunting, right? Well, luckily for us, we know better than that. I've told you guys, no stop losses, no levels do we set. We set alerts, alarms, never sell limits, right? Right. Because that is what they're looking for. They're looking for those sell limits. They can see them. Just like we place them, the brokerage firms, they can see them. So, yeah, it's not, that's what they're shooting for. Anywho, so today, going back over to the internet really quick, obviously, we hit SSR list right here. SSR list was hit at 219 basically. And that was because we tapped $1.53 on the money. And at that point, again, that prevents the shorts from being able to short on the downtick. Well, it prevents retail investors that short stocks to short on the downtick. Okay. What you have now is the short exempt rule. And what the short exempt rule is, it prevents the illegal manipulation practice of shorting on the downtick or naked shorting during volatile moments. So basically we hit 10% down. Now it's not supposed to happen, but short exempt allows for the brokerages, the smart money, the big investors still to be able to short on the downticks. They file short exempt. It goes in as a failure to deliver, and it gets filed away that way. And again, that just creates more failures to deliver. So it just shows that there is always a way for the market makers to keep manipulating, for the hedge funds to keep manipulating. They have the ability to do it when we can't. If you were to go in and try and short this tomorrow as a regular retail investor, you would not be able to do it on the downtick. You would have to wait until you see green bars before you'd be able to put a short position in. And that's if your brokerage even lets you do it. A lot of brokerages, once the stock's on the SSR list, won't even let you short it, okay? So if they would even let you short it, you can only do it on a green uptick, never on a downtick. However, you'll notice tomorrow, watch, better believe it, you're going to see downtick shorting tomorrow, especially with the CPI data coming out tomorrow. CPI data hits tomorrow, and if it doesn't come in good, or at least meeting expectations, but I would expect to see all kinds of red turbulence through the market tomorrow. And I would expect to see major shorting. Now, how do I back this up? Here we go. Back to here. Our turnover? Yet. Nothing. Going to the chart. First off, take a look at this price action. You would have a heck of a lot more than 0% turnover if there was selling. And then finally, this is the best part of it all. moving back over to the internet. Let's just hit refresh just to make sure we got good info. It's still not all there, but that's all right. So far, 72% of the overall volume today was short volume. So far. Now, another thing you want to keep in mind. So we've been seeing it again, like I said before. We saw a reduced shorting effect while we were pushing green numbers and everything was going good. And then over the course of the last several days, since the Russell 3000 stuff, you've seen a pickup in shorting. The short attacks have become more prevalent. And what's more interesting over the course of the last 2 days, not today, but the 2 days before that, in order for them to keep it on that bar, they had to maintain a short of volume. They had to maintain their shorting of over 65% each day. 65% of the volume, both Tuesday and Wednesday, was short volume, and almost 68% of the volume on Monday was short volume as well, to make that initial push down, to make it hit that rope limit in between that 170 and 175 mark. All right, so moving on out to a longer time frame, the one thing we do want to always make sure we're paying attention to is we zoom out. We go to longer time frames. We want to know where it's at because we're long-term investors. We're diamond hand apes. We're not looking to sell this thing down here at the basement level. This is the bottom. Here's what we're doing. We're zooming out. We're looking at the longer time frames. 1 hour is not far enough out because it doesn't give us a good picture. So as you can see, we're still in a very comfortable range. We've actually only pulled down to a 50% retracement from our run-up from $1. Yes, I said from $1. I know. We've been dragged down, manipulated down for the last year, and we're actually coming up on 1 full year here in the next couple of weeks. Interesting enough, all of this stuff seems to be happening at our 1 year mark as well. Us being pulled from the Russell 3000, all of the crazy information that's been coming out lately. So yeah, 1 year. Plus, not to mention, we've seen a lot of great information coming from metamaterials, PR out the wazoo. So, anywho, like I was saying, we are at that 50% mark, and we are coming up on the 200 MA. I would expect to see this bounce. I would respect this. Most of the time, algorithms will respect that 200 MA if the stock deserves to respect it, and we do know it does. We have seen, like I said, good PRs, strong fundamentals coming in as of late, quarter-over-quarter strengthened earnings, year-over-year strengthened earnings, patents, I mean, you name it. The fundamentals are there. The company has the strength to be able to push through this. So again, like I said, as far as it goes algorithmically, technically, we want to see that bounce off of that 200 MA, which would also help bring the MACD back up, going back north, shooting back above that histogram level. And then also, as you can see in the RSI, we are currently oversold. So just going off the technicals, I should see a bounce. We should see a bounce come tomorrow or Monday. That's what we're hoping for. But again, CPI data coming out is going to be a big player, a big factor in what happens with the overall market, which is going to be a big factor in what happens with the ticker. Now, does that mean any of us are going to be selling? No. But you better believe there will be a form of manipulation to make it look like we are, to try and scare investors out. That is the game. That is the game. It is a psychological, emotional game. 90% psychology. If you can just look at a chart and block out the emotions of it, to block out the psychological levels of it, and just rely on what a chart tells you, you can win this game. Ignore the FUD, because that's all we're seeing is FUD. Just remember, I'm hoping to see a change tomorrow in the list in the Russell 3000, but I would expect to see it by the 17th, which is also the witching, which we're coming close again on that year. I'm kind of hoping to see some options action coming up, maybe see a little bit more PR coming up. That'd be really nice with this witching coming up at 1 year. I don't know, maybe we'll see some fireworks. I'm crossing my fingers. But again, never a guarantee. All right, so moving on. I know the video is getting long already. We've barely covered anything. All right, so 4 hour, 1 day. Oh, hang on. Go to the chart on the 1 day. So again, on the 1 day, we've got an indicator right here. We are currently sitting on the 50. This is the 50 MA. Now, we have not yet on the 1 day seen the 50 cross back over the 200 since way back here, okay? This is the last time it was above it, was back in here, and that was actually a fake out breakdown when we've come down all the way down to here. So anywho, And what we want to see is it respect this 50 line, and so far it is doing that. As of today, it came down, tapped it, that was that 10% mark, and came off. So tomorrow, again, like I said, I am hoping to see green arrows, green candles. And I'm expecting to see green candles, but with CPI, that can change everything. Again, we don't know what's going to happen until it happens, but technically, we're looking like we're set for a bounce in the very near future. Tomorrow, Monday, possibly. Don't hold me to it. I don't. Oh, Smokey, you were wrong. You're always wrong. Blah blah blah. I hear that all the time. You know what? It is what it is. This is manipulation, guys. I'm gonna be wrong because they're listening, and that's why I try not to give you price targets. Anywho. Guys, remember back when I did my predictions way back when? They were pretty damn accurate, weren't they? Yeah. It's because they were listening. Anyway, so moving on. Let's get over to the internet so maybe I can get back on track. All right, so as of right now, it looks like the pre-markets are leaning green, which is great. I mean, they're flat as of now, but it's still green, flat. That's good. Moving on into Ortex. So, Ortex, 100% utilization, cost of borrows at 47.38%, which is up. It has been constantly going up, very consistent. It is very nice for us. It means these shorts are getting, it's getting more and more expensive for them to borrow because there's less and less availability of the shares, because more and more retail investors are buying shares and holding shares. Again, I'm not the only one out here that can see the fundamentals of the company and see that the fact that this thing is changing. Not everybody looks at Ortex. Not everybody looks at the short end of it, the downside of the market, right? A lot of people look at the company and just the company. So here, let's take this in for example. There's over 100,000 individual retail investors, according to Ken Rice in the interview with Sterling at CES. More than 100,000 investors. In fact, it was like 170,000. We're going to knock half of those off roughly. All right, so say there's 100,000 investors. I only get on average about 2,000 views on my video in total. So I'm definitely not in that 100,000 people's range, which means a lot of people aren't even paying attention to what I'm saying, let alone what anybody else is saying. They're looking at the company as the company. They're looking at it as an investor on the long term, not looking at it as what's the manipulation level and, ooh, pretty colors, right? They're looking at it as the fundamental value of a great futuristic company that's going to take them into the future, okay? So that is the people that are holding this thing, that nobody's going to be able to get these shares from no matter what they do, no matter what happens. They have a clear plan for the future. Days to cover is currently sitting at 12.14 days. Again, that is how long it takes for shorts to cover all of the shares they have on loan, not just the shares that are reported as short interest, all of the shares on loan. Every one of them, 55.31 million shares to be roughly exact, because we don't know if that is the exact number. Percent of free float on loan is 21.5%. The current estimated short interest from Ortex is 45.14 million shares, which is 17.5% of the free float. And it is a value of $76.72 million as of the end of the day today. Ortex is still showing a short score of 96, which is roughly, I think it was like 4th or 5th on their list. And moving over here to the average number of days on loan, we have moved up to 103 days. That is how long the average short position has been holding their position long. 103 frickin' days. Have they covered? Absolutely not. How do you know? Because that number just keeps getting bigger. They're not returning any shares other than the shares that they haven't shorted. And when you see this return shares of 653,000 shares, it doesn't necessarily mean there was any coverage at all. Always remember, there's way more shares on loan than there is actually shorted into the market as of right now. The borrowed shares today, though, look at this, a staggering 1.8 million shares. So if you take this off and you just go into the borrowed shares, knocking the 6,500,000 shares that are on there off, that's 1.2 million shares that were borrowed today. On a 3.3 million volume day, they borrowed an additional 1.2 million shares. A short volume, moving over to Fintail, the short volume today, as we've seen, is about 72%. 1.14 million shares on the dark pool. 1.2 million shares were borrowed. 1.2 million shares were short in the dark pool alone. dark pools alone. So let's see if Chart Exchange has updated this information at all as of yet. Probably not. Not at all. They're still showing it at about 72.15%. Now, the one thing I do also want everybody to remember is, and Chart Exchange actually shows this to you, not every exchange reports the daily short volume free of charge or at all. Reading that again. Not every exchange reports the daily short volume free of charge or at all. So total volume in this table will be less than the daily volume at the top of the page. Volume for trades during regular trading hours, all right? So that means that the info we're seeing is still not accurate. It's going to be way higher than that. And I've been saying this for months and months and months and months and months, coming up on 1 year. The information we see is not fully accurate across everything we look at, across Ortex, across Fintel, across Chart Exchange, you name it. It is not accurate because not every exchange reports their data. Not all of them. There's a ton of them who don't. Only the bigger ones are actually reporting their data. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're only taking this as a gauge. And from the way I read everything, it's a small gauge. This is way bigger than I actually blow it up to be because I try to keep expectations low. So just always keep that in mind. The fact that I'm blowing it up this big right now is just because of look how much manipulation we've seen this week. It's apparent every single day, every single week. But these last few days, it has been just outright blatant. You can see it. Where the hell is the SEC? What the hell is going on? How come this stuff is not being spotted and taken care of? And this isn't happening in just Meta. It happens all over the freaking place. In so many tickers. It's unreal. All right. Veering off. Let's get back on track. All right, so looking at the insider shares, one of the things that we want to pay attention to on Fintel is you're going to notice that the short squeeze score has changed. And this is because, and you can see right here, we have updated our scoring model to include float short interest as a ranking factor. This is the raw number of shares available to trade that have not been shorted. It can be thought of as utilization metric. Explanation: if two companies both have 25% short float, but one has 10 million unshorted shares floating and the other has 200 million unshorted shares floating, the first one is clearly more susceptible to a short squeeze. The effect of this change is the updated model will favor low float companies over others. All other things being equal. So this changed the metric the way it went a little bit because the way some of these smaller float companies, i.e. GameStop, they have a small float with a high short interest. So it changes where everybody sits on this. So let's go ahead and look at the U.S. short scores. So Redbox is still at the top right now because they have a very small float with an extremely high short interest. But these ones here have never been up here, not in a long time. Well, I think Joanne was, but they've not been the top 5 or 6. Those have been, oh God, I just lost it. I don't have a picture to freaking go off of it. Oh, well, it wasn't them. Trust me. This is all recently lists, as you can see. Up 43, up 64, up 14, up 32, up 60. BTTX was in the top 10. ELYM was. Here you go. HUSA was. HPK was. There you go. We were number 1, number 2 short squeeze not too long ago, just a few days ago. And what happened? We hit $2 and came down. We hit it again, and then we've come down. Every time you get up there on the top of that list, it just entices the shorters to bring it back down even harder because they don't want to lose. They're going to keep it below a specific level, until until it gets dangerous for them to keep shorting. All right, we got to keep moving on because I keep veering off. Sorry. So insider shares, this information, we haven't seen any updates except for the fact that they changed how this looks. And that is because Fintel, again, we were actually hounding them quite a bit. I don't want to say we, it was more Ben Hem, DJ under H2O, and Brandon Nodnarb, from all of them from Twitter. We're hounding Fintel a little bit to get their insider information corrected. Well, unfortunately, that did not play out into our favor. The way they changed it was they made it so it looks like there's a lot less insider information than what there really is. A lot less insider ownership than what there really is, I should say. That is because they're not going to count the options or the warrants or anything MMAX or any of that stuff. They're just counting raw hard shares that they can actually take away from the free float, and that's cool. So that's just another matrix that did change on Fintel in the last few days. All right, so moving on to the very next stuff here. Okay, Twitter. We got two things we want to cover now, and then we're going to get out of here. Twitter. Ben Hem, pop this bad boy up right here. Japan to launch 6G experimental trials with Nokia. This is very interesting information considering that we do a lot with Japan, and we talk about 6G and Docomo. So the full potential of 6G telecommunications may not be realized for a decade, but the Japanese are already starting to build their domestic technology base and network. Japan's Network Research Institute, National Institute of Information and Communication Technology, announced the world's first successful transmission of 1 petabit per second in a standard cladding diameter multi-core fiber. So anyway, I'm not going to continue reading on with this, but Japan is definitely starting to move into the 6G realm. They're starting to test stuff, and we have a huge footprint in Japan. And then when you see a name like this Docomo guy right here, Docomo, we've talked about Docomo before. We have worked closely with them in collaboration with Docomo. So I would definitely foresee Metamaterials having a play in this whole 6Ging Japan and getting us going with this. We've talked about it. It's becoming realistic, and the fact that we're seeing this kind of information in the news is super freaking bullish to me. And then finally, the last thing I want to cover is going to be this. Well, there's two. All right, so this. I found this on LinkedIn. This is De La Rue, and they are basically talking about embossed, textile embossed printing on banknotes. So this is for the visually impaired, and I was curious if perhaps we have something going on, seeing if maybe we're doing textile embossed printing on our banknotes. It's just really cool information, and it was just a question I had out there. But if you'd like to, you can go to my Twitter page. You can find this. You can click on it. It'll take you right to the LinkedIn article. It's about a minute and a half read tops. Just really quick. So anyway, I thought it was cool. It has no direct link to Meta, but neat. But the last thing I do want to talk about is this right here. This to me is a great thing I'm seeing. Welcome, Dr. Calvin Chun Hin, to the Metamaterials Tech team. They have not announced him as of yet as a new hire, and they don't announce all of their new hires. They announce some of the really big names, but this to me is a huge name, and I'm going to get into why. So, your work in foldable antenna structures should prove to be a great addition to the ever-growing collaboration of IP. I look forward to seeing your thesis unfold, and it's a good one too. And if you want to, again, you can go to my page, click on this link, and it'll bring you to his entire thesis. But for now, we're going to look at this. It's just the picture. So the abstract is what we need to read. The abstract is going to give us a great breakdown of what this thesis is going to be kind of all about. There's 232 pages here to go through with a lot of information that nobody's really going to understand unless you know this science very well. So this thesis investigates the use of origami folding techniques in antenna structures. What do? We build invisible antennas. This application would be suitable for space satellites and military secure communications. Fold it. Walk away. The main reason is divided into, the main research is divided into 3 segments. The first one presents a Vivaldi antenna using flexible substrates, Captain and Mylar. They are simulated in computer simulation technology, studio and tested for vector network analyzer, and anechoic chamber. The reason for using various flexible substrates is to determine which substrate would perform better when folded. Each substrate has unique electrical and mechanical properties. Secondly, more specific origami folding pattern called Muri-Ori is introduced. It is integrated into 2 antenna designs, slot antenna and substrate integrated waveguide antenna. The Muri-Ori, I might have got it that time, folding technique is a repeated pattern with some interesting mechanical properties. It would be able to switch between different states at partially folded or fully folded. This would be beneficial for application where the cost, size, and weight are limited. Both antenna designs are simulated and optimized to achieve a good performance before incorporating the Muri-Ori folding technique. There are special parameters that require the mold to be functional, inner angle and folding angle. Each antenna is simulated by varying 2 parameters. Because of that, the resonant frequency, reflection coefficient, gain, and the direction of radiating angle is changed. Lastly, a microwave switch with nanowires is investigated to provide a fast switching network at each individual antenna. The microwave switch is simulated on a flexible substrate. Yes, this guy freaking fits. Yes, we can do this. This is awesome. This guy is going to be amazing. So he is a doctor out of the University of Kent, and he is just, this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. When we say we're going to get the best, we are going to get the best, and he's freaking one of them. This is a very, very young scientist, and he is going to be hitting metamaterials hard. I'm telling you now. He could be one of the guys that are really going to be working us more towards that space situation, that SpaceX problem. Was it not SpaceX? No, I'm sorry. It was the satellites that Elon does. I can't remember what it is. It's irrelevant. Anyway, so, yeah, anyway, George was just talking about that on Twitter. He had posted up there. I bet you if I looked really hard, we could probably find it. All right, so the Van Allen radiation belt can kill Starlink electronics at higher orbits. Glass ceramic plasma fusion coatings could be able to do the job. In the meantime, I know someone who can replace these bulky 50-centimeter dishes with some cool, out-of-this-world flat plate metamaterial tech antennas. So maybe this guy here he'll be able to help us with some stuff with Starlink. Who knows? That was the name I was looking for, was Starlink. Anyway, that's all I got for this video. If I provided any good information, make sure you hit that like button. Comment for the algorithms below so that way these videos can get out a little bit further into the metaverse. And as always, I appreciate each and every single one of you. So yeah, until next time, peace. Know what you hold, guys.